Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, this is another video in our Divi for Beginners series, and we're going to take a look at Divi modules, an overview, and all the common features of all the modules. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Okay, I've got my Visual Builder loaded at the moment. If we go down and add a new module, it's always a dark button to add a new module, green button to add a new row, just underneath there, blue button to add a new section. So let's just hit the Add New Module button. When you hit your Add New Module button, this is what's going to pop up. And these are all the available modules that you get with the Divi theme, and there's plenty of them. You can build just about any website you want with this. Now, if you have WooCommerce installed and you're selling products, you'll have another one here with about an extra dozen or so modules specifically for WooCommerce. Okay, for this demonstration today, I'm going to use just a regular blurb module. It's one of my favorites, got a little icon with it. Just left click on whatever module you want to use and it'll appear in the space of the row that you've put it in there. Okay, when you open a module, or it appears for the first, it's going to open like this. Here's our blurb. And you'll always have three tabs: Content, Design, and Advanced. We'll go over those today. Content is always where you'll find the text content of your module, whatever it is. We'll talk about AI in future videos. You can generate AI content with this. They've got a free demo that you can check out, but we'll cover that in a new one. Titles, always right here. Obviously change whatever you want. Now you may have noticed when I roll over the dark writing within a module, you see some icons appear. And this is, again, common to all modules. You've got one, which is a help. You've got another one, which is a little phone icon, where you can put different settings in for tablet and mobile. You can actually change the text on tablet and mobile there if you want to for this by selecting the desired device size and putting the new text in there. And we will be demonstrating that sort of thing in future videos, doing hover effects and things like that. Next one up is a little arrow. If I close that one down, the little arrow means you can create hover effects. So I could have this text change from one text to a different text, or the color of it, or something change by putting different values in here. Next one's a little undo there. Let's uncheck these here. And you've got a little drop down where you can copy, reset, and find and replace the title there. And like I say, those are common to all modules if you hover over the dark writing. Down below, we've got a regular WYSIWYG area for text. You can put whatever text you want in there. You can add media. You can make titles. You can bold, italicize, make bullet lists, add links, block quotes, align, do whatever you want, just like a regular WYSIWYG WordPress widget. Down below that, for this particular module, we've got image and icon. So you can slam an image in there. Let's pop that one in. Or with this particular module, you get the option to add an icon if you prefer. So if you hit the little switch there, you've got a lot of icons to choose from down here. They've just teamed with Font Awesome. Put a search in, or it's got a little breakout box here. As I say, they've just teamed with Font Awesome. So there's an awful lot of icons to choose from. Just choose whatever you want. Pop it in there. It'll appear like that. Okay, this is just actually common to this module and the icon module because it has an icon. But link, you'll always find that under content as well as text. If you go in there, you can put various links in various boxes here. This one up here will link your title somewhere. I guess I ought to turn that white. Let's just turn this writing white so you can see it a little bit better up here. I'll take you through these settings in a minute. There we go. You can see the writing there. If we go back there down to the link, this one will turn the title into a link and take people somewhere. This one will make the whole module a link. If they click anywhere on this module, that'll link there. Always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site to somebody else's site, open it in a new tab so your site stays open. And moving on down, we've got background, and that's huge. We covered this a whole video on backgrounds yesterday. Basically, we've got color, gradient, background image, background video, background pattern, and background mask. And you can combine any number of these together here. Let's put a little background color in there so you can see what's going on. I'm going to click on the color. I'm going to roll down. I'm going to choose a black. There's always a color palette down here. It'll have 3 little dots down there. If you click on the dots, it'll drop down into another palette. You can put in any color that you want here. If you don't like the color up there, just click on the field. You can put in any hex code, RGBA, or anything you want up there. Great. Well, I'll leave mine on black for the moment. Makes it a lot easier to see. Great. So let's move on. I'll close up the backgrounds there. If you want to learn more about backgrounds and you can do some amazing things, have a look at our other video specifically on making pro backgrounds. And I'll pop that up. And it's in our Divi for Beginners playlist. I'll put that link down below the video also. Okay, underneath background, you're going to see admin label. And again, this is on all modules underneath the content. Now, at the moment, this has got the label or the name or the default, which is blurb. Now, why would you want this? You can't see it anywhere here. When you've got a lot of things on your page, sometimes it's easier to go and edit in back-end mode. If we roll down to the little purple button here, click on it with the left mouse, little icon to the left-hand side, we've got Wireframe View. If you click on it, it'll take you to the back end. Like I say, sometimes it's easier to find things and manipulate in the back end when you're building your site. Now, the admin label is blurb. There it is right there, blurb. You can change that to anything you want to make it easier to see. I'll say module demo. And as you can see, it's changed it up there. It makes things easier to pick out on the back end if you use admin labels. If you have 15 blurb modules and you want to edit a particular one on the back end here, really easy to find it if it's got a unique name. So that's our little admin label. And let's go back now. Once you're in wireframe mode, you can switch back and forth. And also down here, of course, we've got our mobile and tablet views. Let's go back to desktop. Great. Well, that's pretty much what you'll find under the general tab. Again, this is for all modules. Let's go into our design. Now, again, we've got specific for image and icon here, where you can give your icon a color and a background color. I'll just change that to blue. If we roll on down, I'm not going to go into this because I'll do a whole module on this blurb because you can do so many different things, but you can place the icon on the left-hand side if you want to. You can align your icon here, but this is only common to this module. So let's roll on down. We've got a general text that just says text. If you use this one, it's going to do both the title and the text. And there's only a few things you can do here. You can change the color as I did earlier. You can align it if you want to. And as you can see, it did the title and the text there. You can give things like text shadow. But if you want to, you can edit the title and body text separately and give them different fonts and styles if you wish. You can either do it down here, and again, common to any module, if you just roll over the title, you see a little paintbrush, a little blue circle with a white paintbrush or pencil or whatever you want to call it. If you click on that, that will always take you straight to that item for styling. It's an H4. You can change the font here. Divi has an absolutely crazy amount of fonts. To check one out, just click on it. Roll over one, it'll give you an example of it. I'm going to leave mine on the default today. Let's close that one up. Now you can give all your fonts a style, and it always looks just like this in the text on every module. Title font weight, that's obviously how fat it is, if you will. Let's make it bold just to show you. You can have styles. You can italicize it, makes it slant, capitalize it, upper and lower capitalization. You can give it an underline, and you can give it a strike through if you want to. And like I say, this is common to all text in all modules. You can align it. We did that in our text above. You've got left, middle, right, and justify. I'll pop it back in the middle. Remember, we're just on the title text at the moment. And of course, you can change colors, text size, text letter spacing, text line height. Line height is obviously the space between lines of text. You can give things like a text shadow if you want to. Text shadow won't do much on a dark background like this, but you can have a bit of fun by putting text shadow in there and on a dark background. You can change the color of it to a light color, and it'll give it a little sort of background glow. Probably doesn't work best on white writing, but you get the idea like that. Okay, body text. You can either go into it that way. You've got all the same settings as you had for the title. What I didn't do was change the sizing in this title there. If we go back into that title there, there's always a little text slider there. And you can just slide it up and down, or you can type in a value, and it'll do it for you there. Great. Let's move on down. Body text, we can skip that one. It's exactly the same. Sizing, very important. This one here, you don't have on all of them. At least I don't think you have. This is common to the blurb, and it's just saying how wide you want the actual content to take up inside. At the moment, it's 550 pix. You can use pixels or percent or viewable width if you want to. Let's make it 100%, and it'll stretch to 100% of the available area there. Now width. You can change width of these things by just, doing this or typing in a value. And you can get some great effects. Do that. Pop it in the middle if you want to. I'm going to leave mine back on 100% as it was. Now with all Divi modules, if you do something and you don't like what you've done, you can select it. Hit delete. It'll go back to the default for you. Max width means it can't get any wider than. You've seen what alignment does if we make it smaller. It aligns it within the column that it's in. You can give it a minimum height, which means it can't get any smaller than whatever height you put in there. You can give it a height, which means it won't get any bigger or smaller. And we use these in our demo videos. We don't need these a lot of the time. Max height means it can't get any bigger than whatever you put in there, and that's obvious. All right, well, let's move down to our spacing here. Spacing I use all the time. If I click on spacing, we've got margin. Now what a margin does is pushes things down or gives you more space. So for instance, if I give this module that we're in a margin of 100 pixels on the top, it'll give it 100 pixel space between it and whatever's on top of it. Let's just undo that. In fact, no, let's not undo that. You can also, with margin, you can't do this with padding, but with margin, you can give things negative margins. So if I put a minus sign in front of this, it jumps it up by 100 pixels, so it's over the top of our module that's down below. So for positioning, margin is absolutely wonderful. Now padding is something different. The way I think about padding is that if our module is a box, and inside our box you've got a gift you want to send to someone, padding is the bubble wrap that you put on the inside of the box to keep that thing safe. It's the space between the inside of the box and your gift, if that makes sense. So if I now give this padding, say 100 pixels on the top, you'll see it gives space between the top of our little icon chap there and the outside of the module. Let's give it 100 pixels. And again, you just need to put in the 100 or put in the pix. And as you can see, it's popped in that space up the top there. If we hit the chain, it'll do the opposite side. We've now got 100 on the bottom. And you can do the same for left and right. Let's perhaps give left and right just 50. Again, just put in the 50, it'll put in the pix. Put in the chain. And we've now got 50 on both sides, 100 top and bottom. Border, fairly self-explanatory. Let's just put a border in. If I roll down just a little bit here, well, I'll start at the top, I guess. Rounded corners, and notice there's the little icons we discussed earlier. If you want to put rounded corners in there, make sure the little chain is checked. It is by default. It'll do all four at once. The higher pixel value in, let's put, say, 15 in. And we've got little round corners there. If you were to put 50 in, it would make them a lot more pronounced. And Can't really do it with this one, but you can use percentage and make things round, but only if they're square. So this will make this into ellipse when I do this. If I put 50 and the percent sign, you can make all kind of different shapes there. Let's take that back, and I'll just take it to, say, 20 pixels. And we got little round corners there. If we go down, we can add a border to those. We can do all 4 sides at once, top, right, bottom, or left individually if you want to do individual sides. If I do all 4 at once, we roll on down, border width, I'll say 2 pixels. It's sort of light grey there. You can give it a colour down below. Let's just make it white. You've got all the regular web border styles there. You've got solid, dashed, dotted, doubled. If I just put that on dashed, shows you the difference there. I'm sure you recognise a lot of these. Dash, dotted, double, grooved, ridged, inset, outset, or none. I'll leave mine on solid. Down below we got box shadow. Just puts a little drop shadow behind there. I should have put this on the white background. But again, if I put one in there, perhaps, let's use this one. I change the colour of it. You can see it on the bottom, and it kind of lights it up. Let's make that a purple. It's almost like a little purple light there on the bottom. Now, once you've got your colour in, you can change the vertical position. Again, you've got a slider. Drop it down further, or bring it up less. Have it at the top. You've got a horizontal, which will move it left and right, obviously. You've got the blur strength, how blurred it is. And again, you can make some nice little lighting effects with that. And you've got the spread strength. As you see, the more I put it up there, the more it's spreading. Something like that. It's nice and subtle for me. And you can get some great things going with that. Now you can have it on the outside, or you can flip it to the inside. We've got a inside one at the top there now. I'll leave it on the out. Great. Now filters. I'm going to probably have to do a whole module on these, especially for horror effects like that. Most of them are fairly self-explanatory. You can change hue, obviously, with this one. And as I do that, you see all those colours rotating around the spectrum there. And you get some crazy animations going with this too. Saturation is the amount of colour. Makes it sort of richer. Makes it black and white down one side. And again, if you do something you don't like it, delete it. It'll go back to how it was originally. Brightness, I'm not going to do that. As self-explanatory. Contrast is the difference between the blacks and the white. You won't see much there because the blacks and the white are pretty strong against each other there. Let's delete that, get back. Invert it. You can change it so that'll be white and that'll be probably yellow. I think that's the opposite side of blue. Yeah, or orange. There you go. Invert it completely. Sepia, don't know if we'll see much on this. Is more for pictures and things like that. We'll give that oldie style look. Opacity, huge. Opacity is almost like transparency. It's not, but it's sort of the more you take it down, the more you see of the background behind there. As I take this down, you can see transparency. Our image behind is bleeding through the more you take that down till fully it disappears. Blur, funny enough, it's like me when I take my glasses off. And blend mode, you can blend things like colours in the background. We haven't got any on this. You can multiply that. We covered this with our little backgrounds video yesterday. You can get some great things doing with pictures and blending things like that. Transform, this is another great one. We'll be doing a whole module on this. Basically, we've got 4 tabs. Transform scale, you can make things bigger or smaller. Transform translate is basically you can move things around your screen, set them in different places. Rotate, you've got 3 different axes here, or axes here, you can rotate around. Let's just take those all back. You can get some great effects, and like I say, we do some great hover effects with these sort of things as well, and animations. Take that back to how it was. You can skew, which is going to pull it in all different directions. And with a lot of these where you've got two different sliders there, there's a little chain. If you make sure that chain's checked, it'll do both at once. If you uncheck it, you're just going to be doing one side. And again, if you don't go too crazy like I have there, you can get some great effects. Animations. Now these are when the page actually loads, it does various things, and it'll give you an example. Default is none. You can have a fade, where it'll just fade in, a slide. It's going to slide in, bounce, funnily enough, zoom, flip, fold, and roll. And these are common to sections and rows as well. You can have them fade in how you want. You can choose the direction that it's going to go. You can choose the duration. Duration is basically how long it takes to do its flip or its fold or whatever. 1000 milliseconds is a second. Animation delay. If you want it to delay after the page loads, you can put in a value there. Intensity. The more intense, the more crazy it's going to be, obviously. Animation starting opacity. Well, it's starting out, the fades are starting out at opacity 0. I don't know if you remember that slider with that filter we just looked at. Opacity 0 is invisible. So you can start it from halfway visible or wherever you want it. Animation speed curve is ease in, ease out. I'd leave that pretty much on it. They're all subtly different. Some things, especially linear, is going to work better in certain situations than others. But ease in, ease out is usually the thing to use for your animation setting. You can have your animations repeat. You've got to be careful about that. That will drive people crazy. And you can decide how your animations work. Image icon. At the moment, the images are going to fade in from top to bottom. You can change it the other way around, left to right, however you want. It's going to work for your little animations. Great. Well, that's the end of our little design tab there. And like I said, I can keep saying it, this is common to all modules. You'll see this in all modules. Now, last but not least is our advanced tab. We have at the top CSS IDs and classes, and we'll be covering these at later dates. CSS IDs, you can apply these to things to use them as anchor tags and things like that. CSS classes, you can give modules names which are called CSS classes. Like I say, we'll be doing these in a future video. And target them with custom CSS and make them do crazy things and do whatever you want. Down below, we've got a different one called custom CSS. It used to be you had to use a little code module if you wanted to write a little animation to this. But now they've got it built in here. So you can write all kind of complex CSS in this. We've got lots of videos where we're doing this. We'll be doing a full demo on this module so you can do that. Now, used to be they just had what they call module elements here, before, main element and after. And you may have a few more depending on which modules you're looking at. Blurb image has these, obviously. So you can write code in there. We'll be demoing that in a little CSS video on its own there. So if I roll on down below here, we've got conditions. And you can add a condition where this module will show. Perhaps use the logged in station, use a role, date and time. Down below that, we've got visibility. This is great because you can build your site from mobile up if you want to. You can have completely different layouts for phone, tablet and desktop. Say we've built this module here and you only want to display it on desktop. You just click on phone and tablet and it's only going to display on desktop. For anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about here, let's take it off tablet. No, let's leave it on tablet and take it off phone. If we go down here, we've got our responsive devices here. We're on desktop. If I flip it to tablet now, that module should actually disappear because I've got it disabled on tablet. And there it is. It's sort of grayed it out because we're on the builder end, just to let you know it's there. But it lets you know because it's grayed out that it's not visible. If I flip to mobile now, that little module's come back. And you may wonder why it's on the side and not in the middle. It's because we messed with our transform translate and we moved it a little bit over there. Normally it would be dead set in the middle. But like I say, that's really useful for building for different devices. Horizontal and vertical overflow. Sometimes we do hover effects where we'll have the text spill down here, and then when they hover over it'll come up, etc. That's just an example. When you do that sort of thing, you push content down below the outside of the module. That's called overflow. And here you can decide whether you want it to be visible, whether they scroll it, or whether it's hidden. And we'll be covering that when we do hover effects. Transitions. That's the time. If you do a little hover effect, I'll just do a quick demo of a hover effect here. Let's change the background color. I'm going to go into background. Here's our color. It's starting off as black. If I roll over, like I told you earlier, the little arrow, I'll leave it on black for desktop, but when they hover over it, I'm going to change it perhaps to purple background. Yeah, that's pretty horrible. What about red? That's pretty horrible too. Anyway, we'll leave it like that. So we got that on hover and that on desktop. Now the transition duration is the time it takes to go from desktop to hover. Default's 300 milliseconds, which is just under 1/3 of a second. If you want to speed it up or slow it down, we'll go back into our transitions here. You can do that in there. There's the default 300. Obviously, a higher value will slow it down. Lower value will speed it up. Same as we had before. Transition delay. If you want to delay before it happens, for when they put their mouse on it, put something in there. Transition speed curve for hover effects. I'd probably use that in out as well. We can't demo it on the back end, but on the front end now, when I put my mouse on it, it'll change to a red background there. Okay, well, let's go to position here. You can give things fixed or absolute positioning by going on positioning here. Relative, it's going to stay pretty much where it is. I mean, you can move it slightly within a little grid here. Absolute means you can position it within its parent module here. Now, the parent module is the actual row that this is sitting in. So you can move it around that row using this. Fixed positioning is the same thing, but it relates to the page. So if I hit this, it'll pop up to the top left there. And you can position it anywhere on the page itself. And that's always where it'll be. And we use this a lot for little icons and things that'll pop up a contact form and things like that. I'm going to put it back to the default there. Now ZIndex, that's quite important, especially if you're moving these things around. ZIndex is how one element sits on top of another element. So I've got two modules here. If this module has a ZIndex of say 10 and this one has a ZIndex of 5, and we move these on top of each other, the one with the higher number, the 10, will always appear on top of the one with the 5. So you can position elements front and back using ZIndex, and we'll be demoing that in future videos too. They've also got a lot of scroll effects here. I won't demo those at the moment. Again, we'll do a whole video on these. Basically, when people are scrolling up and down the page, you can make things happen. You can have this zoom in. We've done whole animations with these things. They're great. And you've got vertical motion, horizontal motion, fading in and out, scaling up and down, rotating, or a blur effect there. And like I say, we'll do a whole module on this. It's really fun. So there you have it, guys. That's kind of an overview of a Divi module. Like I say, once you've learned one, they're all pretty similar. And you'll always find the same things under the same tabs on every module. Makes it really easy to build. Let's just save this, make sure this is going to be there on the front end. We'll exit the Visual Builder. There's our little module. We put that little animation in where it's fading in there. It's on the left-hand side, but when I roll over it, it's got that little background hover effect that we demoed the timing with. So there you go, guys. There's an overview of the Divi modules. Really easy, really user-friendly. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.